I think that maybe it's getting into the rhythm of, okay, I maybe need to systemize this. But I think that there's so many different ways, so many CRMs, so many different automated ways that you can notify yourself to literally take 5 seconds to start that
Yeah.
conversation.
Put it in your calendar.
Literally. Yep.
Send a text.
Yeah, absolutely. Or email yourself, schedule an email to yourself. I
Yeah.
think that there's so many different ways. So I think that really no excuses for the two and the two
Yeah.
at all, at all.
Hey there, welcome back to Realestatable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. I'm Ashley, and I'm here with Tiffany, and we are talking about building relationships after closing and how to stay top of mind as a realtor.
I always like to say that we're bridging the gap into constant communication for that forever relationship that we're building with our past clients that are going to be working with us forever. And we call this system the 222 follow up system, something we've adapted over the years, kind of changed. We do it all a little bit differently. So we can't wait to share all of the good inside and out on how we are following up with clients after the closing. All right, so let's dive in on follow up after the sale. One of the things we're super passionate about, we think it makes all of the difference. And Ashley, share the stat that we were talking about with NAR that we went
Yes.
over.
So it says, according to NAR, 91% of all realtors never contact the buyer or seller of a home after closing. 91%.
People do not follow up, which
Yes.
is crazy because like so much of our prospecting is just follow up. It's like
Mm-hmm.
literally just follow up after the sale, before the sale, like that's just kind of the tone of our business. And so that just seems so crazy that 90, like we're part of the 9%.
Yes.
And we really hope that you're part of that 9% too. And if you're not, I think that this is a really easy way to encourage you to start just simplifying it by utilizing the 222 follow up
Yeah.
that we do right after closing, for sure.
Yeah. The next few episodes, we're going to be talking about building that relationship.
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
doesn't end at the closing table. That's almost just the beginning because you're
Yep.
wanting that repeat business, you're wanting referrals from your past clients, and just winning the relationship, the trust, and then all the benefits to it.
Well, I think too, it's like creating consistency, almost like you're proving that relationship when like us as a real estate team, we talk about the foreverness of our relationship. And so I think that that just kind of builds, especially for those that like the buyers that may have come off of an open house advertising or just a cold call that has come into us, a call off the sign, a referral from somebody that really doesn't have previous experience with us. I think that you go through that transaction and there's a ton of activity that happens, but we don't want that velocity of how we are communicating consistently through that transaction. We don't want that to stop at that closing. And
Yeah.
so this just kind of almost like confirms we're serious, we're here to make this foreverness happen.
That's what I was going to say too. I feel like you have the constant communication while you're under contract and searching and all of that. And then we kind of just like slowly taper off
Hmm.
using the 222
Hmm. Yeah.
versus just like closing done. I mean, I never heard from my realtor again.
Yeah. Yep, that's what a lot of people
Ever.
say. See, and I did just because we were in social settings already. Like we used
Mm.
someone that but I don't know that I necessarily heard from her from like a consistent follow-up. I just happened to be in social settings quite often with her. So, I think the other thing too that we need to talk about. So like at the closing table, I set up the expectation of what the next step with how you're going to help be of value to your clients. So I also talk about, like, we talk about the forever concept all the time with our clients that we're working with, but at the closing table I will set up expectations, almost kind of accountability for how I'm going to be communicating and what they can expect. And then really I try to kind of keep that umbilical cord there from a place of like anything that you need, please reach out to me. So it's like I'm going to do this, but really anything that you need, come back to me at any
Yeah.
time.
I say that all the time to my clients too, and I give specific examples
Hmm.
because like we always say, we live in a military town. We work with a lot of relocation. People don't know the area before moving here. So I'm like, hey, do you need a hairstylist? Hey, this is the best place to take your kids if if you want to have coffee and let them play. Or this is my favorite handyman and plumbing, etc. So they're not just like, oh, Ashlee only does house stuff. Well, no, I live here. I know the area. I get my hair done. So
Yep.
just giving specific examples of if you need anything like hairdresser, etc., dentist.
Well, and I think a lot of our communication that we do between like our summer pop by, summer activity pop by that we do, we'll talk about that later. Our monthly newsletter that also includes local information, our Thursday local happenings, talks about things to do. So we're kind of constantly trying to remind them. So that way I had a seller, or a buyer that is, going to be selling their house. We're years down the road and they're like, hey, you gave us a fencing person how many years ago? Who was that person? And I'm like, oh gosh, who,
Are they
who,
still in business?
who was that person? And when I recommend them post COVID, I don't know if I would recommend the same people. So I think that like just kind of grooming that type of conversation is really where this 222 concept is starting that foundation for sure.
Yes. Okay, so let's break down the 222. So you just left the closing table. What's your plan? What's the first two?
Okay, so 222 stands for 2 days, 2 months, and 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months for follow up. So when we're at the closing table, 2 days past that, so two calendar days after that, we're going to be doing our first follow up. And for me, this has changed over the years because I have not always done 222 follow up. Honestly, I've done fly by the seat of my pants for for the most part. But I think that if I did have done anything consistently, I'm circling around in those first couple of days to close loose ends for sure. So that has probably been super consistent. That is done with a text or a phone call, sometimes a drop by if there's something that I need to be packaging back up and dropping off to them, etc. So it varies on what that looks like, but that basically is kind of pinning up and closing any loose ends or just a simple check-in to say, hey, how's it going? What can I help you with at that point? How about for you?
I do the same thing. So I'm tying up the loose ends. I'm making sure that they've turned on the utilities, especially when buyers and sellers are leaving the area. Just making sure that they've done these things if it wasn't done prior to closing. So checking utilities. Hey, did you get your trash set up? I always ask too, if my people aren't here, I'm like, what can I do for you? What is there anything, do you need me to come sit so that the refrigerator can be delivered or whatever, so that I'm just providing that next level of service. But any kind of like loose end, that's what I'm tying up. If not, I'm saying, hey guys, how's it going? How did the moving process go? Are you getting settled? Things like that. Do you need anything from me at this time?
What happens if you get kind of slammed with like terrible news or just not a good experience? Like how do you pivot from that if it's like everything is terrible? Because I feel like in the moving process everything is terrible.
Yeah.
So how would you say that you kind of pivot from that reaction day 2 of complete stress mode for your buyers and sellers?
I just try to be a ball of positivity at this point. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I know moving sucks, but you have this beautiful home to come to here in Tennessee, or just trying to like paint the picture of a positive experience versus the ball of stress that they might be in.
Yeah. And I sometimes will try to figure out, okay, cool, reality is happening. Because really, that is just the reality that you're in when you're in the middle of a move. So I'll try to figure out a way to fix a problem, but not fix the problem. So it's like, okay, how could I help with the stress of right now? Maybe I could provide dinner. Maybe pizza delivery would be the thing. And I look at the situation and then obviously try to find the positive light to that, but then also I might do something extra just based off of the specific thing that's happening, for sure. But I think that you could probably expect that when you're doing your 2-day follow-up. Don't expect roses and rainbows. It's just probably not going to be what you're met with, and be prepared for that. So do not get blindsided that you need to still, even though that's what you should be expecting, do not hesitate to do that 2-day follow-up, because I do think your value is in in the relationship, even when it's not good, too. So
Yeah.
something to think about with that. Anything else that you add to that, just that 2-day picture?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's mostly just a check-in. Hey, how
Yeah.
are you? How's it going?
And I would not do too much more than that. Like, do not cloud overwhelmingness with it's just really not going to be seen or heard. So don't I would not look and say, okay, let me just do this elaborate thing, because in the middle of what they're going through, it's not going to be seen and heard, as well as that 2 week, the 2 month. We'll talk about more value being added on those two things. So I think
Yeah.
just stick with the easy phone calls, text, solve problems, be positive in that aspect.
Yep. All right. 2 weeks. My 2 week follow up is pretty much the same as my 2 day follow up. I'm again checking in just to see how everything's going.
Mm-hmm.
Do they need anything at this time? Are you guys, acclimating to the area or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I can connect with them on. I have dogs, so I might be like, hey, did you know there's a dog park over here down off Riverside, kind of thing, where I'm like starting to get a little bit of community involvement and just check in, see how they're doing.
Yeah. I add so to the check-in, which I feel like when I'm really in being realistic in how much that string is still attached after closing, it's probably more consistent than I'm just making sure if I have not talked to them in those first 2 weeks, I'm making the
Yep.
initiation of the contact. But in addition to that, I do give Cutco at the closing table. That's something that is handed across the table. Some people use that for follow-up, but I do a knife cover and a mail drop that. So it's a knife cover for that Cutco that was given, with a card that says, I still have you covered. Do not hesitate to reach out if there's anything that you need. So that's just like an extra touch to kind of start the mailing process. But it definitely is still, if they haven't been in constant communication over those last 2 weeks between closing, I'm still doing an additional check-in. I just have added the knife cover,
Yeah.
knife cover to that. So just a cute little drop in the mail.
Little something.
Less than $10. Yep. Less than $10 on that. So anything else that you can add to that too?
No, I feel like the 2 day and the 2 week,
Mm-hmm.
super simple. You're just checking in. So if you are doing nothing, if you are that 91%, you're going to make it to the 9% if you just send or make 2 phone calls,
Yep.
send 2 texts, send 2 emails, checking in on your people. I mean, if you're super swamped too, schedule an email for 2 days out,
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks out. You can just schedule it, set it and forget it. If that's like where you're at.
Yeah.
But anything you could be more personal, a call or text is always best.
Well, and I also think that we can always come up with excuses, but I think that if we're going to be in the 9%, we're performing in that top tier, and you're really capturing that business right now, you're going to just have to make time for this. And I think that maybe it's getting into the rhythm of, okay, I maybe need to systemize this. But I think that there's so many different ways, so many CRMs, so many different automated ways that you can notify yourself to literally take 5 seconds to start that conversation.
Yeah, put it in your calendar.
Literally. Yep.
Send a text.
Yeah, absolutely. Or email yourself. Schedule an email to yourself.
Yeah.
I think that there's so many different ways. So I think that really no excuses for the 2 and the 2 at all. At all. I do know some of our agents as well, they do not give a closing gift at the closing table. They wait till the 2 week follow up to give their closing gift. I'm not a fan of that. I've actually not ever tried it, but I do feel like I want to celebrate in the celebration, and I'm gifting enough past closing that I'm like, they're about to be loved on a little bit too much. So I think it'll be no brainer. And really, I think the most changes that we've seen in this follow up has been at the 2 months. We tried several different things. Talk about what you did in the very beginning and why you did that in the very beginning.
Okay, so my 222 follow up was pretty consistently just a literal follow up, a call, text, email. Just starting out in real estate, I didn't have any money to buy gifts for anybody, so my closing gifts were like baskets of what I put together. Wasn't anything like personalized as far as how I do Cutco now. So I also do Cutco, and my 222 is different now. So my 2 month follow up, I'm ordering a personalized cutting board, and this has, depending on if it's a buyer or seller, it'll have their name and the address on it. And I'm giving a shout out. We order from Up Late to Create. She's on Instagram, and all her stuff is super cute. She's got
and really affordable too.
Yeah.
I feel like less than $50. I honestly want to say less than $40 shipped. We
Yeah.
get a really nice, really good quality engraved wood engraved cutting board,
Yeah.
which is, I feel like, raving reviews on
Oh
that for
yeah.
sure too. Sometimes you have buyers, it's like, okay, there's not one family last name, or it's like the status is it's complicated, and so that she can do like personalized design for anything. So
Yeah.
like home sweet home and an address, she can do last name and home sweet home. I've had investors that have purchased, and we've done different things. I've also done other engraved gifts when I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, well, this is the third time that this person is closing with me. Don't need another cutting
Yeah.
board type scenario. So she has a ton of really, really great ideas. And I've brainstormed with her before
Yeah.
where I'm like, hey, this is a single military dude in his 20s. He does not care about a cutting board.
Yeah.
And she's come up with really great ideas and just been able to
Yeah.
customize that. So Sarah, we love her with Uplight to Create. I would
Yeah.
definitely check her out for sure. So, okay, so you right now for your buyers, you do the cutting boards. So for my sellers, I do the same thing for the cutting boards. For my sellers, though, we love Cultivated. We had Cultivated on a couple episodes ago. They do a phenomenal job with. I mean, I almost feel like it's like art, like an artistic rendering of most of the properties. And so we use Shutterfly to create almost like a coffee table book. For our sellers, we want them to walk away with something to remember the memories that they have in that house. And so we're not doing the cutting board. I personally do a Shutterfly book that has a picture, all of their pictures in the little thank you note at the back side of that.
Hmm.
That also is a very inexpensive, less than $50. I would say most times you can catch sales on Shutterfly for like $30 plus shipping
Yeah,
for
you
those
can get
books.
sales and they always have coupons.
Yes.
You
Yep.
can get a lot of coupons too. I also do the Shutterfly books for my listings. I think I feel like I'm just kicking a dead horse, but we live in a relocation place. So
Yes. Yeah.
there's a lot of special memories made in a single house in one location, even if it's just for 2 or 3 years. I mean, people bring babies home
Hmm.
and then move, and it's all their kids might be brought home to a different house. So it's
Yep.
just nice to give somebody, like you said, the coffee table book where they can look through and be like, this was our first home, or this was where you were born.
And I just recently, I'm gonna probably wrap myself out because I had a really special closing. I helped a seller in a situation in a really difficult situation. And one of the things when I first friended her on social media, one of the memories that came up that she posted was a picture of her kids, which were like, these are teenage kids that helping sell the house. And they were probably like early grade school, and they were sitting on the wooden fence that was outside of the front of that house. And so I hijacked that off of social media. That went in that book kind of simultaneous with the picture that I used to sell, kind of layered that on that as the first picture that they open up to. So I'm going to start to kind of look to see on social media if there's any like memories at home and try to incorporate them into not just the
That's a really
listing
good idea.
photography. Yeah, that was kind of like a it happened kind of almost like magically, like the whole entire transaction and
Yeah.
closing and all the things. That was just a really special scenario. But I don't think that that hurts for you to look to see, is there any memories that they have? If it's important enough to put on social media,
Yeah.
probably important enough to be landing in a memory book as well. So that was something literally just happened a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
to add to that too. What about if it's like a seller, like I have investors that are, 1031 exchanging, or people that really wouldn't make sense for. I've also have had scenarios where like the separation of the house has not been a good thing. What do you do? What would you do in a case where it's like not really appropriate to do a certified book?
I'll do, if it's an investor, I like to do like a Lowe's card
Mm-hmm.
or Home Depot or something that they can actually use for the next flip.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple investors, and I feel like that's just really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's 50, $100, with a handwritten card saying thank you so much, I'm here for all your investing needs,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I agree. I also have, if it's been like a scenario where it's like, okay, would this be appropriate? I've done the cutting board for the seller side too. So
Mhm.
like certain scenarios, and then Sarah's also helped me out too, where I'm like, okay, cutting board doesn't make sense. Shutterfly book doesn't make sense. Like, what can I do to personalize something that's a really nice follow up
Mhm.
gift for them at that 2 month time period? So I really think that anywhere from a continued follow-up all the way down to some type of personalized gift. I did in the very beginning, I would look, I wasn't doing welcome baskets in the home, which we are doing those now. So they get the Cutco across the table at the closing, and then they get something small, not so much personalized, but something small to include cleaning supplies inside the home that's dropped after final inspection. And so I was doing that around the 2-month time period, but I felt like if it wasn't personalized, that they're already like flowing into their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
At that point, it's kind of like I don't want something to go on mute ears. And so when I am considering something personalized or sparking emotion like that Shutterfly book, I think that almost always gets a reaction versus like, hey, here's a more stuff for you to be organized in your house. I have done like game night baskets. I've done like if they purchase a pool or a house with a pool, I've done like outdoor fun stuff to do. But I think that nothing has had as much impact as figuring out how to spark emotion, and personalizing stuff really always does that trick.
Yeah.
So really, it's actually saved me money from what I was doing before. Probably the same with you with the Lowe's card and things like that as well.
Yeah.
So,
and if you don't know, you can always just kind of ask your client,
Mhm.
like pick their brain, like, hey, what are you into? What kind of, and another thing too for investors, sometimes I'll just buy them a gift card to like a local
yeah,
restaurant here where I can be like, hey, go get some dinner on me. Anything to just kind of keep that relationship going, which now that I'm saying that, it kind of sounds like bribery, but kind of like that's kind of what it
I mean,
is.
is that a bad thing? No. No, but I think that's where I would say that you are really looking at the emotional part of that. So I think personalizing it, not in a bribery standpoint, but like really just trying to figure out how to personalize that experience,
Yeah.
for sure. So, one of the other things I want to touch on is the 1 year follow up,
Yeah, I
because
was wondering if we were going to talk about that. 'Cause I'm
yeah,
like, we're doing 222, but what about the 1 year?
yeah, which is
Okay.
also a reminder. And I also feel like it kind of falls into this. Like, yeah, we have 222, but we also do the same system to remind us for that 1 year. And I've been thinking about this lately. So I do something specific for 1 year, but I don't do the anniversary afterwards outside of that portfolio review. So I'm like kind of deciding, okay, do I continue? Because I know like Amber does 2 years, 3 years, that she's celebrating every anniversary by some type of door drop. But what do you do for your 1 year door drop or delivery or whatever?
So I send them cookies
Mhm.
I order from Cheryl's Cookies because I don't know how much it is, but there's some sort of membership you can get and it's free shipping. So I pay like, I don't know, $50 and I get free shipping for a year, which I think I use definitely more than $50.
Yeah, for sure.
But I like that because you can pick what day it's going to be delivered. They always have cookies on sale. So I'm spending like 20, maybe $30 on these cookies, and then they get shipped the day I want them to.
And are those personalized? Are they like any type of theme, or how does with Cheryl's Cookies? I'm not familiar.
Okay, so they're not. I don't have like a theme. So like if you are looking at for a December anniversary, there's going to be a lot of red and green. So I'm trying to find ones that are not red and green or Mother's Day themed or whatever holiday you're around. You can always find like their regular like sugar and buttercream cookies, I think, that have like a neutral frosting. They always have sales. I'm just looking for cookies that don't look like they're themed for a holiday. And then you have the option to write like a little gift note. And so that's where I'm writing the note. And then I know what day it's being delivered. So then I can reach out and be like, hey, just want to let you know, or want to check in and see if you got
receive those. Yeah. Yep. And I'm doing the same thing with cookies, but I'm doing local personalized with Southern Flower Bakery. Those are personalized to the actual homeowner, to my logo, to all of that stuff. It is definitely not as inexpensive for sure. So definitely spending more money. It's not a hands-off approach. So we're having to pick up, local deliver, all of those things. I definitely think that I've changed over the years kind of what I'm doing, but that is for my local buyers or sellers. If it is someone that is not local, I'm like sitting here going, okay, light bulb's going off because that doesn't matter if they're local or not. for my sellers, when they hit that 1 year anniversary for their sale, I'm doing a card with a $25 personalized Visa gift card. So it has my company logo on there. It has personalized literally on the card, congratulations on your 1 year sale anniversary. But I also feel like making sure that you're doing something that sparks the emotion. So the personalized part of that is really not there, like the cookies, like the 2 month follow up. So maybe thinking I might want to go in a different direction. If you guys have any
Yeah.
suggestions of what you're doing for your 1 year anniversary, we'll drop some examples of all of this stuff too for you guys to visually see the links to the people that we use, because even though they're local to us, they do ship. I
Yes.
just found that out about Southern Flower as well. So
And her cookies are so cute.
they
And
are.
she just got a new something where she can print pictures on cookies. So
Yes.
like if you have a closing date picture, she can print that picture on a cookie and you can eat it.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
crazy.
That closing date picture,
Yeah.
a picture of the house. And I also think that it's really cool at that 1 year, if you go back to take a picture of the house, because a lot of times things have changed. So getting an updated picture. But I like the closing day picture
Yeah.
too. That would be really
Or like
good.
somebody holding the sold sign in front.
hmm
Like,
Yep, that'd be really
yeah.
cute. I know some of our other girls, they do a bottle of wine that's personalized, a personalized tag and bag with that. Also, candles have been another thing that people on our team have personalized too. So just something at that 1 year anniversary. But one of the things that I feel in the last like 12 months, super passionate about, we talked about this and we will continue to talk about portfolio reviews are happening on that anniversary date always. It's kind of, I try to make sure it's spread out from the time that they're getting like the gift celebration, but somewhere in that 12 months follow up, and absolutely giving them an update on the value of their property. So that will happen recurring every 12 months, like we've talked. You definitely need to check that out if
Yeah.
you haven't
If
listened.
you missed that episode,
hmm
just scroll down. I think it's called Listing Gold or something.
Yeah.
Portfolio reviews.
So that's part of the follow-up system on that, but we're using the 222 follow-up plus the 1 year freebie that we're adding into this. That I'm notifying myself the same way I'm doing the follow-up. I'm in consistency. One of the things I want to talk about too is, okay, so when you're doing 222, we're going to talk about next episode, we're talking about pop buys. What happens if you have a pop buy scheduled um, in the mix of the 222? Do they still get the pop buy, or do they not graduate into the pop buy system for you until they're followed up?
If they are closed, they are on the pop buy
Yep.
list.
Same.
Yeah. Doesn't
Same.
matter where you're at. If you could have closed yesterday and I'm doing pop buys today, you're getting one.
Today is the day you get a pop
Today
buy.
is the day you get one.
So I think that that's something really important to note too, is that this is independent. Do not use this as an excuse to not do what you're already normally doing. That's one of the things, like sitting across the table at the closing, that you want to be talking about. Okay, so I'm going to be following up with you. You're going to be getting invitations to our client appreciation events. You're going to be getting little door drops. I talk about my door drop fairy that will maybe end up on a Ring camera. It's funny, one of my longtime clients, Jennifer, the other day she sends me a screenshot of her Ring camera, right? And she goes, "Is this one of your girls?" And we've had the same assistant, our runner, our go-to person. Erin has been by our side for quite some time. So has not had an opportunity for like someone new to end up on door camera. So she sends a screenshot. She's like, "Is this your person?" Now, y'all, this screenshot was so creepy. I was like, "No, ma'am, I did not hire that creepy person on your Ring door camera." And she's like, "Well, they left something at my door." I was like, "Yeah, you might want to check that package before you open." But it was funny that my long-term client that has consistently gotten door drops was like, "Oh, someone's door dropping something.
Yeah.
Must be Tiffany."
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely not. I'll have to show you the picture
It's
of it.
funny too because she used to do your door
Yes,
too.
it was. Actually, yes, before she ever bought or sold with me. She was our runner years and years ago. But it was funny that just like to hear a client that's almost kind of like been groomed, been bribed, been through the whole process with you, is like automatically someone drops something, it's Tiffany. No, not this time. I need to follow up with her actually and see.
Like, what was it?
Was that a bomb at your front door? What just happened? But I was kind of like, it was a younger girl though, so it could have been like, Lisa's daughter has been asking to help, so it could have been something like that. But I was like, absolutely not. That was not at all. So,
all right. Do you have anything else?
No, no more creepy stories for today.
All right.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Make sure that you are listening to all the episodes that we have passed and downloading, giving us a five-star review. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys, what an awesome episode on the 222 follow-up, and then also
A bonus
of the 1 year follow-up.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's break it down. So the first 2 is 2 days after closing. Call, text, email, something. You're reaching out to your client to see how things are going.
Yep. And then 2-week follow-up after that really could look the same as the 2-day follow-up. I add on a little mailer that has a knife cover for the Cutco knife that they received at closing with a little note that says, I still have you covered. If there's anything that you need. But I really feel like 2 days and 2 weeks, you're probably still in the solving problem mode. So really do not fret if you don't have anything additional besides to follow up on that.
The first 2's tying up loose ends, essentially,
for sure,
and checking in.
Yep.
The 2-month follow-up, this can look personalized to however you want to do. So we do cutting boards, personalized cutting boards, and then shutterfly books, personal to the buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
But it could be anything. It could be something with a candle with your logo on it. It could be, but make sure you include a handwritten note. I think that's the
big difference.
The big difference is what makes that extra personal.
Well, and I think too, I always put yourself in the position of being followed up with, being gifted as if you were the buyer or the seller. So I always think about that. Like, what would be practical? We were talking the other day about practical Popeyes as well. So make sure that you're putting on that hat and making sure that that's kind of speaking to that person, personalizing it to that person for sure. Then the bonus 1 year follow-up. So we were just thinking as we were talking through this, I was like, okay, we do 222 follow-up. We are reminded, notified with our different systems of how to do that follow-up or when to do that follow-up. And so our 1 year is the same notification for us. So adding that into the mix, talking about things that we do for one year follow-up as well. One of my favorite things, though, it's not even a gifting system, it's our portfolio reviews. That I think just hits the nail on the head, starting to communicate about the investment that the buyer has still.
Yeah, so your people are going to get cookies, personalized cookies, churros cookies, whatever it is, and then they're going to get some value. So you're going to give them feel goods and then value.
Yep, absolutely. And just kind of continuing that relationship past the closing. I think that if you are doing all of these things, there's no way that you're going to fall into the 91% of agents that do not follow up. Success at that 9%, really, there's room for everyone to succeed right now in this market by continuing to stay connected to your clients forever past that closing. Lots more to come for tips and tricks on expanding relationships with our clients. So we cannot wait to share more with you guys.
All right, guys, if you found that this episode was helpful for you, make sure you give it a 5-star review. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And we will see you next time.